Welcome to the Day 2 podcast. Today's episode, FBA fees 2024 have changed again and again and again, and the changes are confusing. We're going to do our very best to help you make sense of them. I'm Jason Boyce, founder and CEO of Avenue 7 Media and host of the Day 2 podcast. With me today are two AV7 rock stars, Malia Kim, Director of Presence, and David Wilhelm, Head of Inventory Management and Forecasting for AV7. How are you guys doing?
Great. A little
Doing
tired
well.
of looking at fees though, right, David?
Recently, we had a day trying to figure out these FBA fees.
Yeah, this is not an easy one. So David, you're in Houston, right? And Malia,
Right, Houston, Texas.
You're in Houston. Malia, you're in Hawaii. I think you guys have better weather than I do in Portland. Thank you for joining me for the Day 2 podcast today. We're going to try to make some I feel like I got to call this 1.0 stab at, making sense of these fees. They're so complicated that the learnings are going to continue. Malia, let's start by going to you first. What are the three headlines here? What are the three types of FBA fee changes that sellers have experienced or will experience this year?
There's a laundry list, to be quite honest, from fee changes to new fees and how those buckets are shifting. But the ones that we particularly want to drill down into today are the inbound fees, the new FBA fees, and then, of course, our favorite, the storage fees.
Yes. FBA inbound placement fees. David, I feel like you lost half of your day trying to explain to me that it was no longer called inventory placement fee. I apologize for that because I was like, no, we've always had that inventory placement fee and we could opt out of it, but it's all different now. Tell us what you've learned and what's changed.
Yeah, it's a common comment that sellers are worried about, like what is this new about? What's changed? So basically, the names change. Inventory placement is how they used to call it before. Now they are calling it inbound placement service fee. One of its differences is that the standard items used to go to one location before. They never got split. But now with this change, they are getting split into multiple fulfillment centers. Another big difference is that this option used to be hidden in the back end in the FBA fulfillment settings.
Right. Yeah, and you could get destroyed if you didn't know that you have to turn that off. And of course, Malia, I know that's one of the first things we do when we're onboarding clients over at AV7. We would go in and turn it off so that we could send it to 1 to 3 FBA centers and not get wrecked.
And now Amazon is putting it right in your face when you are creating new FBA shipment plans.
That's good. Put it in our face so that we know that it's here instead of hiding it somewhere in a setting that's hard to find, right? So, okay, that's one positive. And so, David, do I have to pay the inbound placement service fee? Can I opt out? I know you ran some case studies with different package sizes across several of our clients. Tell us what you learned.
Right. So the inbound placement service fee, it could be an optional service. They split it in 3 different services, how they call it. Basically, minimal shipments, would it be sending to just one location? Partial shipments, which would it be to send to 2 or 3 locations? And by location, I mean fulfillment center. And 4 or more locations is what they call Amazon optimized shipment splits, which that option, it's the one that you can waive the inbound placement service fee.
I know in your case study, you took a look at a sample size shipment across multiple package types and categories. You took a look at what that shipment to inbound it without the old inventory placement fee, shipping to 1 to 3 locations would. And then you took a look if you sent it to 1 location with the inbound fee, the 2 to 3 that you just described, and then lastly, 4+ shipments. And what did you find is, I guess I could say, the sweet spot? Where did you find costs went up the most? Where did you find costs went down the most? Or was it all just everything was up and across the board?
Well, for small standard items, I can say that those are the size tiers that are getting hit with a higher percentage of the increase. I have 4 cases where we analyze all of the different size tiers, and that's the one that is getting hit with most percentage increase. Okay. Again, if you are sending to just one location, then you have the luxury of just preparing just one your pallet or your packages to just one location, so you will get hit with that fee. But to your question, that's the one that is most expensive. But there are other scenarios where actually the total cost have decreased because of a split. So, for example, for oversized items, I have seen that those shipments are actually cheaper and they don't have to pay that placement fee. Obviously, that's only taking into consideration the FBA piece, right? The shipment plan. We are not seeing how much does it cost to sellers to prep these units, right? To pay for their, which is another story. But again, there are cases where we are seeing a decrease because the shipping fee would be less expensive than before. So if it's less expensive and there's no placement fee, then it would be cheaper than before.
So the small standard is the one that had the most increase. And what percentage increase on a small standard size if you did the third option, the optimized option, compared to pre-March 1st? What kind of percentage did you see in our case studies for that?
295% increase.
I'm sorry, was that a close to 300% increase?
Right.
Whoa.
So that's for the option when you send to just one location.
Okay, just for one location. Got it.
Okay, just for one location, you are seeing a 300% increase.
Okay, so don't do that. Okay, next.
Exactly. But next, it's not very, still it's not sounding good, because it will be like a 236% increase. Because even though that you're still shipping to 2 or 3 locations, not just one, you are getting hit with that placement fee again. And or if you send to 4 locations, yes, you still will not pay that fee. But in that case, the FBA fee, the shipping fee had increased. So we had in that analysis, we had a 38% increase on the shipment.
So 38%. So the best case scenario. Now, typically with those small standard, if you're sending a sizable shipment, typically pre-March 1st, you'd send to 3 FBA centers. Is that correct, David?
Right.
So, okay. So now if you opt out of the inbound placement service fee and you ship to 1 more location, not 3, but 4, your increase is still big. That's a 30% increase on your inbound freight to an FC cost, but it's a lot less than using this very expensive service.
The luxury one, I call it.
The luxury one. So Malia, David brings up a good point. Maybe the cost of adding that 4th shipment with your 3PL, if you're using a 3PL, and we got most of our clients are using not their own facility, but a third-party logistics company, you have to factor that in as well. I mean, when you're talking to brands, their head must be exploding right now.
Yeah, we're definitely looking into what will impact margin, right? So we're digging in, we're figuring out, okay, outside of what Amazon is requiring, what does it mean for packaging? What does it mean for prepping? What does it mean for all the other things that go into shipping logistics that are outside of that, right? So either from overseas on the boat, plane, into customs and then to your warehouse, or there are other options, right? So Amazon has AWD, you have your 3PL. I'm hoping with this large shift, because the size that David's talking about is probably the majority of Amazon's catalog, which is why it's the heaviest hit, it's the heaviest burden, and
right.
the heaviest
That's
lift.
right.
So hopefully with everyone in sync having the same problem, the warehouses will be more flexible to negotiate and understand that Amazon shifting, which is a domino effect, it's a ripple, right? So it's going to come for everybody at one time.
So David, we saw a scenario, given the new options with inbound, without, there was, in the small standard size is a little bit painful now. It's about a 38% increase getting your goods now with 4 shipments into an Amazon FC. But were there some scenarios with different package types with other companies you ran case studies where those inbound costs when you play the game right were actually less?
For oversized items, like a client that sells mattresses, we saw a decrease of around 9% if they would use the optimized shipping option, right? So
okay, that third option, right, where you're not using inbound. Okay.
And also, there's another client that sells office supplies, and they are categorized as large items. And if they were to use that optimized shipping option, they would have around a 15% decrease in the shipping fees, and no inbound placement to make sure that we're on the same page.
If you listen to the Amazon seller community on Twitter or X, it's just everything is the end of the world. There are no reductions. But David just said there's a scenario of the 3 new options where you can actually reduce your inbound fees to stock FCs. Is it safe to say that third option? So David, what I'm hearing is that third option where you opt out of inbound placement service fees and you just ship to at least one more location in almost every scenario. Is it safe to say that that's the best way to manage this new system?
Right. That's how Amazon wants you to manage that.
Yeah, they don't want to have to move it. They want you to move it. And if
they want you to do their work.
That's right. And if they're going to move it, by God, they're going to charge you for it now. So here again,
Yes.
Malia, have we seen this movie before? Amazon's trying to change behavior, right?
Yeah, it's like the whole hidden fee game, right? But they've actually been forthcoming and called it a service. And what do? You pay for services. So if you want them to, use all of the resources that they're actually building out for shipping and freight, you're going to have to pay for it.
Got it. Okay, folks. So you heard it here first. The best way to reduce your FBA inbound placement fees, don't opt into those. Opt out of them per shipment when you're creating your shipping plan and ship to that one more location. I think another way to reduce those fees, to your point, David and Malia, is go back to your 3PL and negotiate with them. Tell them, hey, Amazon changed the game on me. Can you give me a little bit of a break? Instead of shipping the typical 3 shipments, you can just add one more. I think that's a good way to address this. And I think it's important to restate, guys, that it's not all an increase in fees. It's not necessarily the case. There are actual scenarios that that we're sharing right now on our YouTube channel that where you can actually pay less to get inventory into FBA centers. You just have to do it a little bit differently. So, okay. Are you guys seeing any scenarios where you cannot opt out of that inbound placement service fee, or in every scenario, can you do it?
There are scenarios where when we have been creating shipments where that option of the Amazon optimized shipment split is not available. So what we have done is that we have been playing with the system, waiting for another day, changing how we structure the shipment, and like with different boxes, and finding the way to get that Amazon best split option.
Are you increasing quantity you're shipping in? What package configurations? What are some of those things that you're playing with to try to get that option to split shipments right now, David? And it's okay. If you don't have final answers, it's okay. I know this is just getting started.
No, basically sending more quantities, splitting the shipment into 2 or 3 of the initial plan. And again, also could be playing with the address. Maybe you have another address where you can ship from.
Oh, interesting.
And we are seeing some shipments where for some address it's not working. It's not even letting us create a shipment. We have seen plenty of glitches these past few days, but definitely, again, by playing with the system, I mean making it with different quantities, different SKUs to see how it reacts.
Great advice, David. Malia, my favorite part of this story with the inbound placement fees is like March 1st, they say, we go into Seller Central to try to create a shipment, and we can't see what the inbound placement service fees are. David, I'm sure, Malia, you being ex-Amazon, you've never seen a scenario like that where they launch and it's not actually ready for prime time. That's probably never happened to you, right?
You're so funny. With all great things, you have to stumble and fall and learn and rebuild and build better, right? So
well said. Well said. So let's put a bookend on FBA inbound placement fees. My gosh, my brain already hurts, and we've got 2 more to go. Let's shift to FBA fulfillment fees. It's clear that the FBA fulfillment fees are sort of forever changed. What are we seeing here?
So we're seeing, actually, if you are not able to opt into that awesome option that David had talked about for the inbound placement fees, and you just can't configure your boxes, or you can't work with your 3PLs fast enough, and you do have to take one of those first, the premium luxury option or the middle option, you might see an increase. Well, we're seeing that for the FBA fees, they're actually giving you a break. Did you hear that?
Wait, what? No.
Yeah.
This is a bad connection. I don't believe it, Malia. Say more.
Yes, you actually get a break. And we've pulled and analyzed a couple of our clients to present to you what those breaks could look like based on what you had seen prior in the inbound placement fee situation, and how it can actually even out or cancel out that increase in fees. So, yes, Amazon's actually doing something nice, and the fees are dropping, not in all categories. So David, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like apparel is still one that's pretty high. But for the most part, we are seeing a nice break for our clients.
So Amazon taketh away, but they are also giveth with the FBA fee. David, tell us more about some of the scenarios you've run across where the decrease in per unit FBA fulfillment fee actually softens the blow with those increases on the inbound placement fee.
Right. As Malia was saying, there are some categories or size tiers, better say, where they are decreasing at an average from 20 cents to 61 cents, obviously per unit. So in those same cases where I was referring to, for example, in the first case with the office supplies seller, if they were to ship to one location, with that shipment, they will have to spend about $500 for that luxury option. But those units that will go into that shipment will get a decrease in the FBA fulfillment fees for $300. I mean, total cost. Okay. So it's a way of offsetting the cost here. That's that case, right? We have another seller that we did the analysis on, that they sell, they're in the large standard size tier. And if they were to send to just one location, we're talking about 6,800 units here, that placement fee would have been $2,800, okay, just to ship to one location, okay? Again, if they were to ship to a partial shipment to 2 or 3 locations, they will have to pay $1,000. But to your question, the FBA fee decrease, the FBA fulfillment fees decrease would have, it's about $1,200 in the decrease. So good news here is that if they were to use
the premium luxury option, right?
Well, not that one, but the Amazon split, optimized split
more
option,
optimized
right?
version.
Where they don't have to pay the placement fee, right? The increase in the shipping would have been like $400, but the decrease in the fulfillment fees is about $1,200. So boom, there's not even a wash. I mean, you're getting $800 there because you are spending $400 more in shipping. You are not paying the inbound placement service fee, and you are getting a total decrease. I mean, I'm commingling in all of the units you're sending for about $1,200.
I'm sorry, I missed that first number. So, and actually, you're netting $800 more in that scenario by opting into the sending to 4 warehouses and ignoring the inbound placement service fee. And because Amazon has actually lowered their per unit FBA fulfillment fee, they're netting more profit dollars to the bottom line. Malia, I'm reading Twitter. I'm reading X. Nobody on X is saying this. Why do you think that is?
I think because they haven't gone and peeled back the layers of the onions, they're stuck on the first smack in the face, which was the inbound placement fee, right? Because that's a natural progression of how you would fulfill, right? So they're really just in shock and they're not able to move past, and they're kind of in a analysis paralysis with just that first fee. And this is the one of several, which we're going to be the start of our roller coaster. So we have a few more, and then we have another dip or shock for you, but we have some solutions. So
that's awesome. I mean, all I'm hearing, FBA fees are too high. They've gotten higher, and we're just not seeing it. We're just not seeing it, except in a few, like you said. What were those examples again, David, where you are seeing FBA fulfillment fees going up? You said apparel is kind of staying the same. What were the areas where they went way up?
Right. So basically, most of them are coming down, actually, if you compare them to previously January 15th fees, right? So you are getting a discount on a per unit FBA fulfillment fee. So when you
across the board, every shipment type, you saw a decrease in FBA fulfillment fees. That's the pick, pack, and deliver to the Amazon shopper's door fee. Every scenario you saw, FBA fees coming down. It may be 2 cents, and maybe 8 cents, and maybe 9 cents.
Right. So like I said in the beginning, it's from about 20 cents to 61 cents, the average of the decrease on the FBA fulfillment fees.
I keep asking the question, David and Malia, because I just don't believe it. When I read in the news, I'm not hearing this, but I trust you guys and I believe you, and I've seen the numbers ourselves, and we're sharing them here in our YouTube channel. David, how best can brands and sellers calculate and estimate these FBA fees? Where can they go?
Well, actually, Amazon have that revenue calculator where you can see what would it be the fee, the inbound placement fee for each item that you're sending to FBA. And even you can do that in bulk. You can download their template and then upload that template and get that information.
And then the per unit fees themselves, is that Amazon? I remember going back in the day and looking at the FBA fee calculator. Is that still there? Has it been updated now with the most recent fee change?
Yes, the revenue calculator is updated for the inbound placement fee. It has it included now.
And I used to just Google it, FBA fee calculator, and it would pull up the Seller Central link. Is that how you do it?
Well, I do it from the Seller Central, and I just search for revenue calculator, and boom, there you go. You have it, and again, you can search by one by one, or again in bulk.
I'm still dumbfounded by this. I mean, the public reaction to these fee changes don't match the reality right now. Amazon has already reduced these per unit fees here. Folks, what are other ways to reduce these FBA fulfillment fees? Again, that's the pick, pack, and delivery fee to the Amazon shopper's door. What are some ways that brands and sellers can reduce these fees?
One recommendation is to look into your product packaging. Usually when sellers are designing their product package, they are thinking of how nice they would like to have it. They might think of how many units they can fit in a box or in a pallet, logistic wise. But I recommend to start looking into the FBA size tiers to see if you can reduce that package the most, so you can get in a lower cost size tier. That way you could be saving potentially cents per unit, maybe 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents, who knows, but that's per unit. So that times the units that you are selling yearly, boom, that adds up.
And David, you were sharing with me the dimensional weight calculation. A lot of folks don't know this, but what is that calculation to determine dimensional weight, and what's the difference between dimensional weight and actual weight?
Right. So the dimensional weight, it's basically multiplying length, width, and height and divided that by 139. So that would be your dimensional weight. So whichever is higher, if it's your dimensional weight or your actual weight, whichever is higher, that's how Amazon categorizes you in a size tier. So again, if you're able to be categorized in a lower size tier, that's an easy way to save money on FBA fulfillment fees.
And Malia, even more basic than that, if you take your length, width, and height and you're able to work with your packaging designers or your factory and reduce half an inch here, quarter inch there, maybe an inch here, that just drives down that dimensional weight, right?
So that might not even be the resolution though. So strategically, we're also partnering with Amazon as, in a verified agency to really work with the teams there. And so they've really kicked off and revamped their what used to be SIOC, ships in own container, and now it's called SIP. So ships in product packaging. So that's another avenue or another route that we're looking to partner with Amazon to help them also in their initiative to reduce waste and then to be more efficient, right? You have one product that's there, one product that's on its way. Why hold up the box when it's robust enough, it can survive shipping by itself? They can just pull it from the shelf, slap the label. If it's, it meets that size criteria and it can go off to the customer. And the best part about it is it's not going to commingle in a box. It won't get busted up. And you've proven that it can survive. So if you have returns issues where it's getting busted up or, damaged because Amazon is mishandling, well, you've made sure you have correct packaging to survive it using the ISTA 6 standard. And then again, speed. And then you get breaks for it in the FBA side.
Do you know what some of those breaks are, those cost breaks for a SIP program? If a brand says, okay, like they may have a retail package, right? That's not going to survive an Amazon truck delivery from Ohio to wherever, right? But if they add a couple of cents on their packaging to make drop test packaging, sign up for this. I keep wanting to call it PSYOP because it sounds like cool, but it's a SIP. It's a SIP program. Yeah. How much kind of savings can come from that?
Yeah, David, do you know what that is off the top of your head? I know we dove into a couple of our clients' products that had heavy liquids with just a cap, which was consistently being busted during shipping. And so to reduce the turns and those fees and then customer complaints and all those types of issues that come with, the mishandling and packaging requirements or recommendations that we provided, we did look at it. So David, do you remember what that savings was for FBA in addition to what we are hoping will come out of the reduced returns and negative comments?
Right. So the decrease that if you sign up for the SIP program would be from 6 cents to 58 cents. Obviously, that doesn't sound like a lot.
Per unit.
But again, per unit.
Yeah.
That times what you said per year, that adds up.
That's big. And you couple that with some of the FBA fulfillment reductions Amazon's giving you, you're becoming more profitable. I love it. One more comment about dimensional weight versus actual weight. A good way to think of this is a pillow, right? If you ship a pillow and it's puffed out form, it's got large length, width, and height, and it's super, super light. Trucking companies don't like that. It's why when you buy a pillow online today, it's typically got the air sucked out of it. It's because they're trying to take those large dimensions, shrink that packaging and dimensional weight because it's super light, and the dimensional weight is always going to be more than the actual weight, and it lowers their cost to ship. And so doing that and the SIP program, if you can package these things so that it can arrive at an FC and then to the shopper's door, well, that's a whole lot of profitability gains right there that you guys just shared with our audience. Well done. Well done.
All about efficiency, right?
That's right. That's right. All about efficiency. There's one more. What was the third one?
We've gone through so many layers. My eyes are watering.
FBA storage fees. What FBA? This one's really complicated. This one really is going to break your brain if it's not already broken. Go ahead, David.
So from April 1st, there would be a decrease for standard size items of 9 cents per cubic foot. So large and oversized items are having the same fee. They will not see any change, at least. But yeah, for standard size items, they are getting a 9 cents per cubic foot. What
reduction.
They have reduction, yes, a decrease.
Another
a reduction.
Decrease.
Exactly. And that's for the monthly storage fees.
You guys, that's another fee reduction right here. We saw some examples of opting out of inbound placement fees where it's actually less to ship inbound now than it was before if you just ship to one more location. We've seen across the board FBA fulfillment fees go down, and now also the storage fees are going down. Is it per cubic foot, David? Is that what you said?
Right.
But what's the wrinkle here?
What's the catch?
Every seller's fears they're going to send too much inventory into FBA and get stuck with a massive long-term storage fee. What's the wrinkle that Amazon threw in here, you guys?
Sellers need to know that they need to find a sweet spot for inventory, right? So from what we're seeing is that, and here I'm going to name a new fee that will be launched also soon, which is the low level inventory fee. So if you have on average daily inventory less than 28 days worth of inventory, you will get hit with that low inventory fee. If you have more than 22 weeks worth of inventory, then you are hit with a storage surcharge fee. Amazon is telling you between 4 weeks and 22 weeks is what we want in our storage. So you need to be running your your numbers efficiently in the inventory wise in order to be in that sweet spot.
Let's say that I'm selling 100 units a month. Let's say I'm selling on average 100 units a month. And then all of a sudden, 1 month, I only have 25 units in storage. So I'm 75 short. Is that where the low storage fee comes in? And what does that look like? Or do I have this all wrong?
They will increase the FBA fee for that ASIN, and you will be charged every time that you make a sale until your until your average units in stock, it's above those 28 days or 4 weeks of inventory.
I like this one, Malia. How many times do we tell brands, stay in stock, don't run out of stock? Because when you run out of stock, your rank tanks, you lose sales on a daily basis, but it also takes you time to regain that lost rank when you come back in stock. Am I hearing this right, Malia? Are they incentivizing brands to keep selling and to keep enough inventory to keep moving product?
Oh, of course. They want the business to keep humming, right? So if they know they have a seller that customers want, they want it to keep coming back. They're making money off of the sale. They're making money off of traffic, right? Like we can't forget about that overhead cost that feeds into the algorithm of people coming in, and it's another business on the side of Amazon. And then also I think it'll alleviate a big issue we saw in the past, right? Which is the cancellations. If it's in stock and it goes out when it's supposed to, you don't have to clean up that back data of, okay, what's sitting in here? We need to cancel it because it's kind of a dead shipment that's and kind of maybe paid for, and then we have to do the refund. So there's a lot of things too that Amazon's doing to clean it up on their end as well. So if you can keep it in stock, pressure them to keep it in stock without having them, pay that fee, they're going to be incentivized and motivated to do it.
I'm trying to think, and there are lots of examples in my past as a seller, Malia and David, where Amazon made a policy change. And it actually made me a better retailer, and it made me a better brand. I remember when they instituted the pre-fulfilled cancel rate metric. If you couldn't display your listing appropriately so that the shopper was getting what they ordered, that was bad for the customer and bad for your business, and Amazon would punish you for it. So solving for that problem made you better at your business. I cannot believe I'm saying this, you guys. I think we might be the only ones out here in the public and podcast on YouTube saying it, but there's a lot of good in these changes. It's driving the kind of behavior that they want. And Malia, what do they want? What is the number one thing Amazon wants? Efficiency, faster sales velocity. Yes. The more inventory turns you can have in your business, the lower your cash flow needs are, the faster you can grow, the more profitable you can become. Speed, efficiency, sales velocity. And everyone, okay. I can't believe I was not expecting this, you guys.
Who are you?
I was expecting you guys to come in here and go, oh my God, all these fees are killing the brands. It's not as bad as I've been reading. Okay, so we've got this low stock surcharge. I got to tell you, I like it. It's incentivizing brands to stay the hell in stock. Are there any other fees that you guys know of that Amazon sort of snuck in on some of these changes in 2024 so far?
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen the inbound defect fee, and it used to be where Amazon would just punish you and shut your shipping off. I'm sure if it's bad enough, they'll still slap your hand and shut you off temporarily, but now you're going to also pay for that one. So no
You're going to pay
abandoned
for it.
shipments. Yep, no incorrect shipping. So if your courier sent it to the wrong location, or a box fell out, or it's not the correct configuration, you're going to get in trouble. So if you plan for it, it needs to be exactly matching what you said you would ship.
Got it. It's like that saying, measure twice, cut once, double check your shipments before they're going in. Make sure they're perfect. Get a couple sets of eyes on that. Otherwise, now you're going to get that's right. They used to just stop your ability to send in. They're like, no, if you can't get it right, you can't ship to us. And then they'd call you, Malia, and your team on performance and get that suspension lifted. Now they're just going to charge you for it. Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
David, any other fees you saw snuck in there?
Sure. So, well, the another change is that they are closing shipments after 45 days that they have been created. So you have 45 days to ship in your products if it's a domestic shipment. If it's an international shipment, then you have 75 days to ship in. I mean, before they close it.
Gosh, I've seen some messes we've inherited when we've had new clients onboarding, Malia, where there's just like hundreds of open shipments that they never fully executed. So are they going to charge fees for that, or are they just going to wipe them out after 45 days?
We're not quite sure how they're going to deal with that. It's probably going to end fees, or like what he said, if you have something inbound, you really have to make sure your courier is dependable, which again is probably going to be use a verified courier, or where it's really pushing is to use an Amazon service, right? To guarantee it, because you're paying Amazon for the service. We'll really see what happens. But it's really, again, part of that efficiency train, right? If they have to store all these abandoned shipments, which does feed into your inventory allocation, they're having to store and restore this data, but nothing is happening with it. So it's a forced behavior for sellers to clean up their portal so that their system can run efficiently on their side.
I don't hate that one either. I got to tell you guys, look, you've talked about some ways to reduce these FBA storage fees. The most important one is making sure, like you said, David, the amount of inventory needs to be between at least a month of inventory up to 22 weeks. You've got to find that sweet spot. And you know what popped into my head, Malia, as David was saying that, is you just can't be an amateur anymore. You must do the financial forecasting required to make sure you hit that sweet spot that David is talking about. You have to have sophisticated financial modeling to know what your historical days are, what the data is, what your current trends are, and then do an accurate forecast. And I'm happy to say we are doing CFO level financial work for our clients now. I always resisted it in the past, Malia, but I don't think brands can get away from this. They must do this in order to maximize profits, revenue, and keep Amazon happy too, right?
Yes, the financial planning piece is crucial in order for Avenue 7 to really highlight what those hidden fees are for smart future financial planning, right? Amazon keeps pivoting. We keep identifying what those are and adding them back into making sure that we are growing you responsibly and growing sellers to profitability.
Absolutely. And if you're sellers out there listening or watching this podcast and you don't have an agency that can do financial level, CFO level financial reporting for margins and forecasting, et cetera, at a minimum, please go and find someone who knows the Amazon e-commerce game that's a partial or a contract CFO who can do this work for you. Your banker will be happier. You'll be able to plan and manage better. It will help you drive your advertising budgets in a better way. You can forecast and plan better with your factories, give them more time so that you can negotiate better costs for when you need these things. And you said it best, Millie. It really isn't just about making Amazon happy. It's about making a better business. I want to just recap some of the behaviors that Amazon seems to be changing with these moves. They clearly want to maximize their space. They want to cover their costs. They don't want a loss center anymore. They want everything. Andy Jassy wants everything to be a profit center. And look, I get it. I get that. But, you know, the other thing that pops into my head, Malia, is, and David, the single unit small package items are really hard to make money on as a third party seller now. Amazon 1P seems to own that space. One of our recommendations for profit margins when we talk to brands is to say, okay, take that one stick of deodorant, turn it into a 3-pack and a 6-pack and sell that, because your FBA fee is roughly the same for 1 unit as it is for 3 and 6, and you can make more profit margin. It's really hard for someone to make money on that one stick of deodorant, but 1P is selling those. The cynical part of me, Malia, says that Amazon is funding more of those sales to their 1P business. The reason why I think that, the Q4 annual report that came out for Amazon showed that 1P grew for the first time in forever. Like they grew 1P business grew 9%. Q1 of last year, they grew 0%. In the 3 years prior, they had almost no growth. So they're charging sellers a little more for the small standard, right, David? There's a little bit more cost associated to ship a single unit. Maybe Amazon retail's like, give us that business. We're okay losing money on shipment. So is that too conspiracy theory for you, Malia, or do you think there's some truth there?
Amazon is a business, right? So they're going to do whatever works for them and whatever needs to float different parts of the business. So they're going to shift and shake and move. And maybe they're operating in a loss. We don't know, to keep retail and traffic and Amazon a presence there for the Fulfilled by Amazon portion of it. But we really do see a trend here with efficiency and possibly even squeezing out competitors to push towards being a holistic all Amazon model.
You said it. That's a good one, Malia. And I have to give you credit, because when we were talking about this episode a few days ago before airing, you were like, look at that. AWD is becoming more and more attractive. First of all, what does AWD stand for? And is that what you're talking about? Do you think Amazon's looking to get more of the revenue from the broader, fuller supply chain experience than just doing short time package and final mile delivery?
Yeah, actually, David here has been diving into all of our use cases, actually diving into AWD, partnering with them to figure out if they're a good fit for our clients. So David, I'd love for you to explain what you've learned and the findings from partnering with Amazon.
Sure. So first of all, Amazon Warehousing and Distribution. That's what AWD stands for.
I only remember the Amazon warehousing. I always forget that D, but that's distribution. Okay. Thank you, David.
One of the beauties of AWD is that AWD it's basically a 3PL, right? It acts as a 3PL. But one of the beauties of using this 3PL that Amazon owns is that you can waive the inbound placement fee, you can waive the low-level inventory fee, and you can waive the storage surcharge fee as well. So those three fees will be waived if you are using AWD. So basically, to my point, from what I'm seeing here is that Amazon wants you to store or to use AWD storage as a storage, okay, and have on Amazon fulfillment centers what you are selling in those 4 weeks to 22 weeks that we were talking about, right? So in that period of time, I mean, worth of inventory, they want to have that piece of inventory, that stock at Amazon fulfillment centers. I mean, that's how at least I see it from, diving into all of these cases. And then they want you to use AWD to store basically the rest of your products, to use it as a storage facility.
What about getting product from AWD to multiple FCs? Does the seller or the brand, do they have to take any action to do that? Or does AWD do that let's call it FC transfer, if you will, AWD to FC transfer automatically?
Yes, so you have two options. Both options are available. The ideal with this is that you can have set an auto option. So Amazon will be the one pulling from AWD your stock to replenish Amazon Fulfillment Center, your Seller Central account, okay? And or you can do it manually. Basically, you can say, "Hey, hey AWD, send this amount to Amazon."
And is there any concern about the cost for transferring inventory with this system so far that you're seeing?
What I know is that their transportation fee, it's about $1 per cubic foot.
Okay. $1 per cubic foot. That doesn't really mean anything to me, but I understand that that's how they're doing it. This is what we're going to have to do, David. We're going to have to come back and do a deep dive on AWD. Here's my hypothesis, listeners and viewers. Let's see, when we have David and Malia back to talk about the deep dive with AWD, we'll see if this is true or not. But the regional FBA centers and search results that the system is now serving that are regional based on inventory closest to that geographic region has kind of changed the SEO game on Amazon. So if I go back to my air hockey table days, right, my Harville air hockey tables, and if I could send a container to AWD and let them pull to all the necessary FCs, I'm guessing under the new scenario, I'm going to get better organic traffic and session data because their system theoretically will place it in all those 6 or 7 or 8 geographic areas so that my item shows up in search results, not the same across the country, but high up in all those new search regions. So Malia, obviously there's obviously SEO benefits to this with the new regional system. Any other benefits that you're seeing to AWD?
Yes, absolutely. And it's one thing that you really, really, really hammered into me is the buy box, right? Because the buy box is featured depending geographically on where you're located. And so AWD is going to be configured to benefit Amazon, more sales, more revenue. So they're going to put it in a place where someone's going to want it the most. And it'll never, ever, hopefully, fingers crossed, holding Amazon to it, wink, wink, out of stock. And you will never lose the buy box.
Oh, boom. That's the mic drop right there. And then David, you and I talked about this, just moving long-term inventory and letting Amazon take it from there. You get all these SEO benefits. You get the buy box. That's the mic drop right there, Malia. The buy box benefits, they just get a little bit more of their life back. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, we do a lot of the heavy lifting for brands to help them stay in stock in FBA, but this has got to give them time.
And another benefit could be by using AWD, your units will get shipped. You will get received faster in Amazon fulfillment centers.
Faster too. Right. Again, back to your word, Malia, efficiency, flywheel, sales velocity. All of this happens faster, better, stronger, leaner, and it's less cost. You're absolutely right, Malia. I'm going back to the buy box one more time. You're absolutely right. Amazon is going to give if you've got inventory in Seattle and that's a Seattle shopper, they are not giving the buy box to the person who has inventory in Florida. They're giving it to the Seattle person. So the more FCs that inventory is placed, the more buy box you earn and learn, and then also SEO as well. Well said. Oh, Malia, well done. You guys, this is a very, very complicated topic this is like an 8-layer cake that we just served to our listeners and to our viewers. And you guys did terrific work. Thank you for doing the homework on this on behalf of our clients first, but also our listeners and our viewers. And thank you guys, as always, for fighting for brands and for sellers in this community. You've done a terrific job. David, was this your first podcast episode ever, or have you done this before?
Ever.
First one, nobody would have knew. Malia, didn't you do great?
Yeah, he did amazing.
Thank you, guys. You're terrific. Thank you for this great knowledge. There's every one of our listeners is going to gain tremendous value out of this, and we'll have you guys back on soon to talk AWD. In the final analysis, folks, Amazon has the biggest, fastest, best performing final mile delivery service in the US, and now they want sellers to pay for it. But it's not all increases. It's not. They're actually in the wash. There's a lot of different fees that are happening, and in many cases, you're paying less. So don't listen to all the hype, the negative hype that you're hearing. Do your own homework, play with these systems, work on reducing that dimensional weight of your packages, make the packages better, sign up for the SIP program, make more money, do more business, and keep tuning in to day 2 for great content like what we had today with David and Malia. If you're ready to start growing and protecting your brand on Amazon with a team of experienced Amazon operators, you can visit us at day2podcast.com. That's day2podcast.com. And lastly, if you know of anyone else who would benefit from this podcast, and I know you do, please share it with them. Thanks for listening and happy selling.